Hey everyone, Warwick's here. So we're back with our third class, early alpha class changes review, first impressions, whatever you want to call this type of video. Today this time we're doing Demon Hunter. Now I've already released Druid, I've already released Warrior. Take a look at both of those if you would like. Now Druid was only for Guardian, but now we're going to be looking at Demon Hunter. Now we've got a couple of things here. Now in these development notes, they talk a lot about Vengeance and Havoc, and then I have a tab of course where we're going to deep dive into Devourer. So we're going to take a look at just the Havoc and Vengeance changes here, and then I'll do a separate video where I take a look at the Devourer Demon Hunter spec, just because I'm trying to keep these videos between 30 and 40 minutes, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. Alright, so let's start with the class changes, and then we'll go into the hero talent changes, and then we'll look at these specific ones. And after we look at each spec, or in this case the class change, we will look at the individual trees for these as well. Alright. Demon Hunter class changes. Fellblade now only generates 15 Fury versus 40. I think that's okay. Like, there are times where Havoc in particular can get into like a Fury deficit a little bit, but Vengeance does not have any problems with it at all. So you have to find the balance. I think 15 might be slightly too little. I'd maybe see 20. Just cut it in half, and I think that'd be better. Sigil Flame moved to Vengeance specialization only, which means Havoc Demon Hunter no longer has access to Sigil of Flames. Well, what are they going to do to fill that spot in the rotation? Several talents have changed position in the talent tree, and then Chaos Fabric, Demon, Muzzle, Flames, Fury, Precise, Sigil, Flame, Rush of Chaos have all been removed. Most of these, I think, are probably okay. So let's look at the Demon Hunter class tree. Now, why are all the question marks? It's because Wowhead is building these by hand as they get their alpha access and they get people to look everything over. So the tooltips are here, but the icons and stuff like that will be added on as they go through the time as I record this. I'm recording this literally the day all of this is announced. Alright, so we get Vengeful Retreat, Fellblade / Voidblade, and then Sigil of Misery at the top. That doesn't really change a ton. Vengeful Bonds gives you the slow on that. Again, that's probably mostly going to be skipped because you can just grab Unrestrained Fury instead to get down here. Shattered Restoration. The healing of Shattered Souls is increased by 10%. Sustain method, probably really good to have. Improved Sigil of Misery, you're only going to take maybe in Mythic Plus situations. So I see you taking all three of these at the top and then grabbing these two. That's 5, and then you grab all three of these, which are going to be Bouncing Glaive, which gives Throglaive additional targets, which I don't like this talent being here because, like, Felskar does not really use Throglaive at all. So you're just kind of, like, fucked. Imprison, good to have in almost any situation. And then Charred Warblades, giving you more sustain. So, this row, a little bit underwhelming in terms of being able to get down underneath the first gate, but is what it is. Chaos Nova, obviously very good control method, used a lot in Mythic Plus, with some not yet implemented talent. Pursuit, which gives you, has a connection there, so I'm assuming this is going to be something that ties to Chaos Nova. Improved Disrupt, gives you more range. Obviously, this is always very good. Consume Magic, very, very niche. And then Eldrazi Design gives you increased parry. There's a good chance, like, the only way you're getting here is, like, you may have to take Consume Magic in your builds just to be able to get down here. Because, like, yeah, Live by the Glaives, definitely more of a Vengeance Demon Hunter talent. Aura of Pain increases the critical strike chance of Immolation Aura. Both specs, I mean, I'm assuming Devourer will also use it, so, like, you're getting this, you're gonna have to grab Consume Magic in order to grab Aura of Pain. Swallowed Anger just improves Consume Magic, who cares? Blazing Path, good for the double extra charge on your Blazing Rush, Infernal Strike type stuff. Disrupting Fury gives you 30 Fury and a successful interrupt. I think this one's very skippable because, like I said, Vengeance has no issues with Fury generation right now. Havoc can, but you have other ways to mitigate it. Master of the Glaive, again, they're doing something here, like, I don't like that they're kind of forcing Throglaive onto Havoc in a build that doesn't require it in Felskar. So we'll see, but you want Pursuit because Mastery's good for your movement speed. Soul Rending is very good, getting the additional Leech. Infernal Aura pretty good for both. I mean, just good in general, actually, for all the specs, because, like, more armor means more mitigation against any attack coming in. Mostly for Vengeance, but still has use for Havoc and Devourer. whatever on that. I don't care about Lost in Darkness. Spectral Sight has been so incredibly niche in its use ever since Legion that it doesn't matter. Alright, Fellfire Haste. Increases your movement speed. Probably can skip that unless you really like it. Illidari Knowledge you're taking because of magic damage reduction. NYI, so we don't know what's going on here. Will of the Illidari, you're probably taking this, honestly, for all specs, just because more health is good, and not implemented talents. Some stuff still to be implemented here. So, like, this whole side of the tree still to be implemented. Still to be implemented. Darkness, obviously good. Internal Struggle, giving you more mastery. Erratic Fellheart, reducing the cooldown of Fell Rush, really good for mover builds. And then an NYI. Long Night gives you more darkness or reduces cooldown. If you need it Mythic Plus, you can probably take Pitch Black and get darkness more often. So the bottom half of the tree is still very much not yet implemented, so a lot to work on for the bottom half of the tree, but some interesting choices being made there. I'm not sure overall what I feel about them. Alright. Annihilator. Annihilator draws upon the most fundamental forces of reality to erase from existence any enemies who would threaten the same. While their methods are often questioned, they are always needed when the fight arrives. Devourers and Demon Hunters can be Annihilators. Vengeance and Devourers, sorry. They change Student of Suffering to activate upon I-Beam instead of Sigil of Flame, since Havoc no longer has access to Sigil of Flame. And Vengeance no longer can be there, and it's now a Devo and Havoc. Alright, Devourer, again, I'll do a whole video on the deep dive for this, taking a look at it here in just a little bit, so we'll see. Alright, so let's look at the developer's note for Havoc. Midnight brings targeted changes to Havoc focused on two key areas. Reducing total button count of both offensive and defensive utility abilities, especially when they have overlapping identity or functional redundancy, it's a good term. And simplifying circumstances of conditional bonuses that warp ability usage in unintuitive ways, especially those that stem from overlapping buff windows. Essence Break. Many skills have been changed or removed, including talents with unclear or overly niche purposes. Large multiplicative skill bonuses have been changed or removed to make room for Havoc's natural gameplay to be fun and effective. No Apex talents on this one, but Desperate Instincts has been redesigned. Blur now reduces damage taken by an additional 10%, and then any damage taken below 35% is reduced by 10%, so a Will of the Necropolis style setup there, where the lower your health, the less damage you take. It's pretty good. I like it. Netherwalk has been redesigned. It is now a passive skill. Slip into the nether when you activate Blur, increasing movement speed by 100%, becoming immune to damage for 2.5 seconds. It's not a long immunity, but an immunity. The big question that I have is, can you still use abilities? Like Ret Paladins, they can still use abilities even after they bubble. Hunters cannot use abilities after they turtle. They can still move, you just can't do anything. And obviously mages, your ice block when you aren't using ice cold, can't do shit. So, is it more like turtle, or is it more like bubble? That's my question. Essence Break has been get rid of this ability, Blizzard. Slash all enemies in front of you for chaos damage, causing Chaos Strike and Blade Dance to deal additional chaos damage to them for 4 seconds. Deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets. Like, I don't even think this has been redesigned. I think this is just what it does, and this is just bad. I hate it. Glaive Tempest has been redesigned. I haven't used Glaive Tempest in a while, but with the class tree giving more angles to forcing you to take some throw glaive talents, there might be some potential that Glaive Tempest becomes involved more. The final slash of Blade Dance consumes 35 Fury, and when it strikes 4 or more enemies, launching 2 demonic glaives in a whirlwind of energy, causing chaos damage over 3 seconds to all nearby enemies. Reduced beyond 8 targets. What if you don't have 35 energy? Can you just not Blade Dance then? Like, that's dumb. Like, I'm confused. I need clarification here. Demon Blades now automatically overrides Demon's Bite. Didn't know that didn't. Blur now reduces damage taken by 25%, but no longer increases dodge chance. That's fine. Several talents to change positions in the tree. Cool. And then the Collective Anguish, Demonic, and the Hunt have all moved from the class tree to the Havoc tree. Good. I like all 3 of those talents, so hooray. And then Fell Barrage, Fell Eruption, Looks Can Kill, Improved Fell Rush, Insatiable Hunger, and Restless Hunter still there. So let's look at the Havoc tree. Ooh boy, it's a wide boy. Alright. So IB obviously still there. Critical Chaos, still very good. Burning Hatred, still very good. Demon Hide, potentially very good. Probably skip it for this Throw Glaive talent and still get down here. First Blood, you're obviously taking in all situations. Blade Dance is awesome. Proof Chaos Strike. Chaos Strike is a big part of your damage. And you can skip Dash of Chaos. Desperate Instincts or Nether Walk. So it's a choice node here in order to get that. That's interesting. And then Deflecting Days or Mortal Dance. I think in Mythic Plus you could justify Mortal Dance if there's a lot of healing going out. But unless the talents over here are really good, then you usually can safely skip right through here. Trail of Ruin, the final slash of Blade Dance inflicts additional chaos damage. Oh great, now you're going to have to take the Mortal Dance or Deflecting Days. Like, come on. Because this talent in combination with this one, just good. Furious Throws, class 25 Fury, whatever. Demonic, this staple talent for Havoc. Very good to see it there. Scars of Suffering, okay. We like this. Flat 4 for percent versatility. The biggest one for me is the threat reduction. Like, that's actually huge. Give that to more specs, please. Initiative, damaging an enemy before they damage you increases your critical strike chance by 10% for 5 seconds. Vengeful Retreat refreshes your potential to trigger this effect on any enemies you are in combat with. Okay. So, along with Tactful Retreat, we got Inertia and Exegy, your mover style stuff is still all plotted in over here. Blind Fury, still a very good talent. A lot of people are taking it because the Fury generation is very good. Chaotic Transformation, very good off of Demonic. We take that. Final Dash of Blade Dance deals additional damage with Trail of Ruin. Again, you kind of go around this. You grab like Mortal Dance, come over here to Trail of Ruin, grab Dancing with Fate. Glowing Inferno, good for Felscard because they rely heavily on chaos damage. Burning Wound, potentially good. And then Rage Fire is kind of like, Dancing with Fate, we already talked about that. We're down here now. Burning Wound, and then Serrated Glaive, again, if there's a potential for Throw Glaive to be involved heavily through, you obviously take these in like an Eldrazi Reaver build, but for Felscar, I just don't see the point. Furious Gaze, we like that, the additional haste. Isolated Prey. Oh, good for single target builds, bad for AoE builds. And of course we have our mover stuff. Chaos Theory, Blade Dance causes your next Chaos Strike to have Crystal Strike will always refund Fury. That's a very good talent to have. Inner Demon versus the Hunt. So Inner Demon causes your Chaos Strike to unleash your Inner Demon, causing it to crash into your target and deal a bunch of damage. Damage reduced beyond 5 targets. Or you try the Hunt, which roots people in place and deals stuff up to enemies in your path. So with the Hunt, the one thing that I don't do well is that I don't pick the target in the back of the pack. I pick the target in the front of the pack. So there's a chance that for someone like me, Inner Demon is better. Because it's anytime you enter demon form, right? So when you demonic, proc this, you proc this, maybe? Potential there. Relentless Onslaught. You probably take this for single target. Felscard builds and then Throw Glaive. Good there. And then of course Rage Fire we talked about. Chaos Disposition. Stacks your chaos damage, which is what your mastery is built off of. Fire Inside, 2 charges of Imma Aura, it's really good to have. Screaming Brutality, like you can take some of these Throw Glaive talents and grab Screaming Brutality. You get Cycle of Hatred into Shattered Destiny or Collective Anguish. Again, I like Collective Anguish a lot, so I'm happy to have that there. Glaive Tempest here, and then of course Essence Break, all by its lonesome over here in the corner. Like, fuck this thing, I hope it's not good. So Havoc Tree, some movement around, some adjustments, but I don't think it fundamentally changes the build that it plays. So, yes and no. Alright, Vengeance. Now, before we get into Vengeance, I want to clarify this, because I've said multiple times that if I'm playing Vengeance Demon Hunter, it is because that is my way of saying that I'm in trouble, without saying that I'm in trouble. I've been very, very unhappy with how Vengeance plays, ever since BFA, really. I just don't think that the spec obviously had major gaps in its defensives that have mostly been fixed, but even its offensive kit feels a little confused. Whether you with Frailty and Chaos Bombing or Spirit Novaing or whatever, Soul Cleave, like when do you use one, when do you use the other, what do you do to build your soul shards, why can't you spend enough Fury to do anything, things like that. So it has like a very clunky offensive kit. Now, I've played it in some meme keys this season, some meme 10s that we did, and it didn't actually feel as bad as I thought it was going to. That said, I think they need to streamline some things. Let's see if they make the decision to do that. Midnight updates are primarily focused on improving the natural usability of its defensive kit. Cool. Before Midnight, Vengeance had defensive gaps and made it susceptible to difficult to understand deaths. True. It relied heavily on effects that were conditional or ramped up over time, and it skewed too heavily towards effects that were predictive in nature and required advanced knowledge of encounters to use effectively. True. At Midnight, Vengeance's defensive kit has been significantly streamlined by increasing baseline defenses. By making demon spikes easier to maintain at a high rate, by replacing complex ramp-up effects with simpler versions that reward core rotational gameplay, and by reducing emphasis on predictive effects to make room for more potent reactive ones. Additional changes aim to simplify and clarify Vengeance's offensive rotation. Cool. No Apex talents, that's fine. A lot of them I don't expect to be in this first build. Tempered Steel, physical damage increased by 12%. Cool. Doesn't do a lot of physical damage, but there is some there, obviously, for Vengeance. It's not heavily chaos damage like Havoc is. Fellfire Fist, activating Infernal Strike while out of combat or within 5 seconds of entering combat, places the sigil flame at the target location. This will be very good if jumping in with Infernal Strike still wasn't like a complete death sentence. Now, the 5 seconds after entering combat still makes it good, but you have to have a very good inner clock to when that's going to be, so we'll have to see on that. Vengeful Beast. Metamorphosis has 5 seconds increased duration and increases the damage of Soul Cleave and Spirit Bomb by 30%. Probably taking that all the time. Calcified Spikes has been redesigned. Reduces damage taken by 5% while active, so it has a very much a Breath of Fire style option where it's on the target. That target does 5% reduced damage to you. Here it's just a buff on yourself. When you Demon Spikes, you're just taking reduced damage. That's a mandatory talent. 100% mandatory talent. Feed the Demon has been redesigned. Every 20 Fury spent reduces the cooldown of Demon Spikes by 1 second. So you should be able to have much higher, close to 100% uptime on your Demon Spikes. Good. Revel in Pain. 2% of the fire damage shields you up to 10% of your max health. Shield and max values are doubled while Fiery Brand is active. So Emma Aura is big on the fire damage. That's where most of it comes from. Obviously, Sigil of Flame as well. There's a chance that this talent could be really, really good, but it kind of depends on the damage breakdown. Are you more physical damage based or are you more fire damage based? If you do like 50% fire damage, then Revel in Pain is probably worth. Anything less than that, I'm not sure. Soul Crush. Effects of Frailty are doubled. Cool. Deflecting Spikes is now learned at level 33 instead of being a talent. Good. We love when talents become baseline effects. So we love that. Mastery Fellblood effectiveness is increased by 25%, so Demon Hunter Vengeance may want to do more mastery stacking. I think right now they're like haste verse. So a little bit more mastery stacking gives them some variation in stats, which means that just flat item level is going to be better. Demon Spike's duration increased 12 seconds from a 4 second, and it's a haste affected cooldown. Plus you get Feed the Demon. Holy crap, there's ways that you can always guarantee that you have a Demon Spikes up at all time. Now, eventually, some of this stuff might be overkill. Like, you probably don't need Feed the Demon as you get higher in gear. But, early on, a talent like Feed the Demon might be very good to make sure that you're maintaining your uptime while you gain up and you stack up your haste. Fell Dev damage increased by 15% and healing increased by 600%. That's a number. That is a number. Stoke the Flame now increases Fell Devastation's damage by 30% versus 35%. Fire Brand now brands yourself at an enemy target, reducing damage you take by 40% and dealing fire damage to the enemy over 12 seconds. Sheer no longer automatically overrides Demon's Bite, but Fracture now does. Fracture's damage is increased by 10%, but its cooldown is increased to 5 seconds. Okay. Okay. Now I want to see what else is going on. Infernal Strike cooldown reduced to 15 seconds, but is now affected by haste, so you can just be more mobile. Metamorphosis cooldown reduced to 2 minutes, and now causes Fracture to generate 15 Fury instead of 20. So again, lowering that kind of Fury generation economy that it has a lot of. Ascending Flame now increases Sigil of Flame's damage and no longer causes multiple applications to overlap. Okay, so you have to dot track a little bit better, but overall, like, probably not a bad thing. Soul Cleave now strikes all enemies in an arc in front of you and has damage reduced beyond 5 targets. I kind of thought that's what it did already. Soul Cleave now deals 20% additional damage per soul consumed, up to 2, and costs 35 Fury versus 30. Again, trying to fix the Fury economy of Vengeance. And Soul Cleave no longer increases healing per soul fragment consumed. So it's less sustained, but more damage. Spirit Bomb now has a 25-second cooldown and is haste affected. Spirit Bomb now deals a larger base damage amount, but it increases by 20% per soul consumed. I think it consumes a maximum of 4, so it's up to 80% extra damage. But it no longer applies Frailty unless Frailty talent is selected, so you're required to go into Frailty now in order to gain the benefit. Perfectly Balanced Glaive now reduces the cooldown of Fracture by 1 second in addition to its previous effect. Okay, so we're getting the, I think it's a Throw Glaive ability, but we're also getting that cooldown of Fracture, which makes it now 4 seconds. That makes sense now why they did this. The net buff to Fracture, actually. So, take it. Requires 2 talent points, but a net buff. Void Reaver now causes Frailty to reduce damage by 4% instead of 3%, but no longer causes Soul Cleave to apply Frailty. Okay, so better defensive, but you gotta apply this in a different way. So how are we applying Frailty here? Vulnerability now causes Frailty to increase damage taken by 3 to 6%, so a small buff to it. Frailty now causes damage struck by Sigil of Flame, Soul Cleave, and Spirit Bomb to be afflicted by Frailty for 8 seconds. Used to only be 6 by Sigil of Flame. So now all of your main, your main like AoE threat thing, plus your 2 Fury Spenders now all apply Frailty. It's good to know. Volatile Flame Blood now causes Immo Aura to generate 1 to 5 Fury when it crits versus 5 to 10, but also increases Immo's crit chance by 10%, so in theory that should smooth this out. Ruinous Bulwark now converts 50% of healing into an Absorber Shield versus 100. That's probably okay considering things like Frailty got buffed, so not bad. Painbreaker now reduces damage by 3 to 6% and duration increased to 8 seconds, but no longer overlaps multiple applications. Talents moved around. Quicken Sigils, Sigil of Spite, and Soul Sigils have been moved over to the Vengeance Tree, with Bulk Extraction, Extended Spikes, Illuminated Sights, Meteoric Strike, Sheer Fury, and Soul Furnace all gone. So overall, like my initial thoughts, pretty cool. Alright, Feldev, cool. Spirit Bomb and Fiery Brand, your top 3 talents. So Perfectly Balanced Glaive, here's where you get your Throw Glaive reduction and your Fracture reduction. You're probably gonna have to take all 6 of these top talents just because that's the only way to connect to a down part of this tree. So you're gonna grab Quicken Sigils, you're gonna grab Ascending Flame. Tempered Steel moves over here into Sigil of Spite. Sigil of Spite has some real nice play in the current Felsguard build. I don't know if it does in the Eldrachi build, and we'll see what Annihilator does when that talent tree is released, because I don't think it's... Oh, we can look at it, so we will hear in a little bit. So we'll see. Calcified Spikes, I think 100% you're taking this. Sigil of Silence versus Roaring Fire. I think you just take the Silence all the time, like it's just universally good. Retaliation, when Demon Spikes is active, they just get a little reflection damage. You have Demon Spikes up all the time. This is just a very easy talent to take, yes. There's Fellfire Fist, which is connected to Revel in Pain. I don't like that Revel in Pain, it could probably be moved over. One, I know we need like symmetry on the shape, but like this could be moved over and a connection here would be great. Having to take Fellfire Fist in order to grab Revel in Pain, like, doesn't feel good, especially because it's not connected to any Immolation Aura talents. Like Burning Blood, fire damage increase, easy grab, Feed the Demon. I think pretty easy grab, and it's the only way you're going to grab Ruinous Bulwark if you want it, so you have to take it in that scenario. Agonizing Flames, mainly for the duration, movement speed is fine, and of course Sigil of Spite. Tuning, 100% tuning. There's Frailty, which you're always going to take. Feast of Souls gives you a hot under your thing. You could probably skip this. Fallout, if you're not taking a Volatile Flame Blood, honestly I would take Volatile Flame Blood. And then Fallout, so you could probably skip Ruinous Bulwark in order to get down here to Sigil of Chains if you want it. Soul Barrier. I think you probably take over Soul Sigils if you want them at all. And then reduce magic damage while Immolation Aura is up. It's pretty good. Chains of Anger gives you duration, sigil duration. I don't think so. The radius might be good, but I don't know if that's going to be worth versus other talents. Fiery Demise deals the fire damage to the target, which allows you to have Cycle of Binding, which is weird. Sigil of Chains, obviously very niche PV Mythic Plus type talent. Painbringer being here. Obviously, I'm kind of find it weird. There's no connection here between Stoke the Flames and Painbringer. Would like to see that. And then, of course, Void Reaver, you probably want to grab in conjunction with Frailty. Focus Cleave. Probably good in single target, but not good in AoE. Soulmonger. Shield you. Like, that's probably pretty good. Vulnerability, really good. And Soul Crush. Like, probably pretty good. Soul Carver, I don't know if we take it. I don't think we take it now, so I don't see a reason to take it. Vengeful Beast, that's the Metamorphosis talent. Into Last Resort, always good to have those. Cheap Death, we love Cheap Deaths. Charred Flesh, grabbing down in flames. I don't know if the extra fiery brand charge is going to be good. I don't even know if Dark Glare Boon is going to be very good. So, like, you're going to heavy emphasize the capstone here and here for sure. All right. You know, I think I can get through this quickly. Let's go. All right. Let's look at on the Blizzard website. They're going to dive in here. All right. Focus on rotation. Generated soul fragments with consume, gathering them with reap, and then void metamorphosis is your major cooldown. In addition to the soul's resource, your ability to generate fury that can be spent with void ray, unleashing a beam of concentrated void energy at your foes. Alright, so consume is an ability to be cast while moving, deals cosmic damage, generates soul fragments and fury. Will serve as your filler. And have a you can see it pulls that up. You can see it's generating the fragments there. There's a bunch of them there. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fragments out right now. Generated soul fragments can either be picked up by walking near them or casting Reap. Reap can be augmented with different talents to generate fury, deal additional damage. Alright, so here's Reap. Oh, it doesn't do anything? Okay. Void Ray, Iconic Eye Beam, filled with enough fury. Medium range frontal ability consumes fury over its channel duration. Unlike other specializations, Void Ray has no cooldown and can be cast much more frequently. It can be adjusted via talents to generate additional soul fragments or deal additional damage when hitting a single target. Additionally, we're focusing on interactions between Reap and Void Ray that allow you to reset the cooldown of Reap after casting Void Ray, returning Reap into an area of effectivity after casting Void Ray. So, show off some talents here. Let's see. Huh, interesting. To get a jump start on your resource generation, Soul Immolation is Devourer's version of Immo Aura. It generates additional soul fragments and fury over its duration. If you prefer not to focus on casting this manually, talent options are available to cast it automatically during your rotation. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, it wasn't just a rendering thing. Okay. Like, this passive feels kind of dumb. Like, you only get a 5% versus, like, guaranteed to get it on the 1 minute cooldown. I don't know, actually. If this could do it even when it's quote-unquote on cooldown, or 30-second cooldown, like, that might be worth, actually. Alright. Once you're full of soul fragments, you're able to enter Void Metamorphosis, which transforms your character and grants you no abilities. Once in Metamorphosis, your fury slowly trickle down and be fighting to stay in the form as long as possible. You'll be able to cast Collapsing Star, which lets you channel the power of your soul's no single attack. Blah, 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 blah. Of course, you've seen what this looks like a couple of times here. Yeah. Through specialization talents, you'll be able to augment Void Metamorphosis and Collapsing Star in a plethora of different ways, including causing Collapsing Star to deal additional damage per subsequent cast, reducing the cost for entering Void Metamorphosis, or causing Collapsing Star to generate soul fragments when cast. Interesting. Don't worry, all that glaive training won't have gone to waste. Unlike other caster specializations, Devourer has a suite of unique melee abilities, easily accessible through the leftmost branch of the tree. Now called Void Blade, kicks off a short combo sequence. You dash into melee, strike your target directly, dealing cosmic damage and generating fury. Void Blade is then replaced with Hungering Slash for a short duration. Hungering Slash releases a whirlwind strike of your Void Scythe, causing significant damage, generating fury, shattering soul fragments from your enemies. The last step of the combo attack is Vengeful Retreat, which gets substantially empowered by a follow-up talent called Void Step. After your Hungering Slash, Vengeful Retreat's cooldown is reset, and it resets a burst of high damage upon doing it. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Interesting. That looks fucking cool, actually. Feldscar's new iteration, Voidscar, has been built up with a snappy combo attack in mind. Metamorphosis resets and enhances your melee combo chain, causing each strike to release powerful Void Surges during its execution. The capstone of the combo strike is the Hunt, which will also kick off Hungering / combo sequence. Better yet, the Voidscar Havoc Tree significantly enhances the availability and power of the Hunt. We expect Devourer Demon Hunters will want to take spec talents that grant them more frequent access to Void Metamorphosis, even at the cost of a shorter duration, to repeatedly trigger these resets and Void Surge bonuses. Okay, so based off of this, honestly, give me Voidscar. I'm fucking in. I love that style. Annihilator. While Voidscar is all about embracing your inner demon hunter and cutting your opponents down to size with devastating combo attacks, Annihilator is all about drawing them out with fundamental forces controlled by the Void, using to wipe out your enemies. Annihilator keys into Reap and Collapse the Star, heavily empowering both abilities. Damage from Reap will summon Voidfall meteors at your target location, dealing massive damage. Collapsing the Scar will then summon a barrage of Voidfall meteors shortly after it deals damage. Alright, let's take a look at this. Heavy haste bonuses improve soul fragment generation, significantly enhance collapsed stars, making them ideal for longer, more powerful Void Metamorphosis windows. Alright, Apex talents. The Pinnacle Devourer's arsenal is their cataclysmic nuke classic star. To ensure that it was hitting our fantasy and damage goals, we decided to make it the star, teehee, of the show for Apex talents. Leveling name Midnight causes collapsing star to always critical strike, deal additional critical strike damage based on your critical strike chance. The last Apex Talents node is a game changer. While previously you would have to work your way up to Collapsing Star, once you enter Void Metamorphosis, you'll instead release an explosion of soul fragments and immediately gain access to Collapsing Star, allowing you to get your damage rolling significantly earlier than before. Alright. That's probably going to be mandatory, frankly. Alright, and then just basically here's some things that you need to be thinking about when you do that. Alright, so let's take a look at the Devourer on here. Yes, it is. Alright, so there's Void Ray, Soul Immolation, which is your Immo Aura. Consume damage increased by 50% and generates a Soul Fragment. Okay. You're going to have to take all 8 of these talents at the top, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you have 3 here, so 9 talents. So, Void Metamorphosis is obviously going to be mandatory. And I probably would take Tempered Soul, thinking about it from a Voidscar perspective. Reap generates severe Void Blade on damage. I'd probably do the Void Blade as a Voidscar, but Reap with Sice Embrace. Entropy's very good. Very, very good. Cuts down the ramp time significantly. So this one you could probably skip if you are Feldscar, but 100 like this one you probably could pretend. No, this is probably the one that. What happens? You either skip this, you take this, or like in Voidscars, you're gonna skip this and take these two because like you're not relying heavily on Reap. So if you're Annihilator, you're gonna grab Entropy and Moment of Craving, and you probably skip Sice Embrace because you don't worry about Sunder. Hell, I don't think I worry about Sunder even with that. Reap gaining additional charge. Ooh, that's gross. Okay. Maybe I'm just not understanding the gameplay loop. It's possible. Single target. Obviously, a good single target one. This one here could be really good. I think it just depends. There's Collapsing Star, Sweet Suffering, Duration of Feast of Souls. Is that one of these talents? Oh, Soul Fragments grant 1% increase. Yeah, no, you're taking that. More Void Ray damage. Gain 20 Fury. Like, actually, we'll see. Haste is increased while in Metamorphosis. Yeah, I mean, because the goal is to maintain that form as long as humanly possible. You're going to want to haste stack the shit out of yourself. Hungering Slash. After dealing damage with the Hunter Void Blade, they are replaced with Hungering Slash. You violently slash your scythe around you, dealing a bunch of damage, generating 10 Fury, and you shatter soul fragments. You grab then Void Step. And then you grab the Hunt, of course. Each collapsing star cast increase. Okay, yeah. Center of the tree, you're probably going to take pretty well. Okay, so we'll see. And let's look at the Annihilator Tree. Alright, Voidfall. Upon reaching 3 stacks of Voidfall, you consume a stack to reach into the void and call down a meteor strike at your target's location, dealing damage. I'm looking at this mainly from a vengeance standpoint. Grants haste. Alright, Voidfall grants 3% movement speed, or you get shift, torment. This one, is that? Torment is the taunt, right? I think you just take Path to Oblivion. And then final hour. Okay. Let's see. Meteoric Rise. Fell Dev damage increased by 50%, and then channels 3 lesser soul fragments over its duration. Gain 3 stacks of Voidfall and reset the cooldown of Spirit Bomb upon activating Metamorphosis. Cool. Meteoric Fall, 3 stacks of Voidfall. Consumes all 3 to rapidly call down that many meteor strikes. That's pretty interesting. Enemy struck by a Voidfall meteor take additional 25%. Okay. And Infernal Strike out of combat. Costs down 3 Voidfall meteors. Okay, so yeah, now you're going to have to leap into combat combined with that Sigil of Flame talent. Like, you're just there. First Spirit Bomb after entering demon form causes meteor shower to assault the area. Okay. Okay. Each stack of Voidfall grants 2% damage taken. Cool. Generates 5 additional fury and 25% increased damage. Fracture does. Okay. And then Spirit Bomb and Voidfall meteors deal more damage for striking a single target. Okay. Each additional target reduces this bonus. Okay. And then World Killer. The third Voidfall meteor strike called down in sequence is larger, 50% area, 1 more damage, and generates more soul fragments, and reduces the remaining cooldown of meta by 10 seconds. You know what? I'm in on this tree, honestly. As like a vengeance curious person, give me this tree. So overall, Demon Hunters, I think you guys are cooking. I think they're cooking really well with this. I'm excited to see what they do with all 3. I'm very anxious to try all 3 now. I'm someone that is... I love tank double DPS specs personally right now. Like Warrior and Demon Hunter are my favorite classes for a reason. I really, really enjoy them for a bunch of different reasons. So I'm very, very curious. As someone that has not been a big fan of Vengeance, I'm actually going to give it a shot. I think right now at midnight once I get a chance to mess around with it. So until the next video, I hope you all stay safe. Hope you enjoy yourself. You're having fun. You keep on gaming. Let me know what you think below, and I'll see you next time.